It's a basketball game they're going to be talking about in Tennessee for a long time for all the wrong reasons. Two girls' high school teams bound for the playoffs, playing each other and trying to lose because the winner would have to play a tougher team next. CBS's Don Daler.
Aimless dribbles, missed baskets, and obvious slow play. With a score of just 28-24 in the third quarter, just before a player was about to attempt a shot into the wrong basket.
I feel bad for the girls who were put in that position and will obviously lose something, but you never know what lessons can be taught from this.
Now, both teams have been placed on restrictive probation for the remainder of the season, and both schools were fined $1,500.
The official who leveled the punishment said the coaches made a mockery of the game. Steve Kaith, CBS News.
Loyalty can be hard to find these days. That's why at Advance Auto Parts, we've decided to reward your dedication with some loyalty of our own. Introducing Speed Perks, the most generous parts rewards program out there. For every $30 you spend, we'll give you $5 back on your next qualified purchase. No card to carry, no points to keep track of. And your rewards are good on everything in the store. Advance Auto Parts, let's get you back to the garage.
See store to sign up or visit speedperks.com for details.
Private mortgage insurance, or PMI, can cost you thousands. The Quicken Loans PMI Advantage is our lender-paid mortgage insurance program. You see, we pay the PMI so you don't have to. PMI Advantage can give you more options, more flexibility, and may save you thousands when you refinance. To learn more, call us at 800-QUICKEN. That's 800-QUICKEN, or visit us at QuickenLoans.com.
Important terms and conditions apply. Calls for cost information. Equal housing lender. Licensed law 50 states and MLS number 3030.
When it comes to automobile service in Hampton Roads, Fink's Car Care is the destination locals have counted on for decades. Family owned and operated, they specialize in transmission service, oil changes, state inspection, radiator service, tires, alignments, and showcase Win automotive products. Fink's does it all. Military and senior discounts are available. Find them on Facebook and visit them on South Military Highway in Chesapeake and Victory Boulevard in Portsmouth, Monday through Saturday. For more, log on to finkscarcare.com and call 545-3573 today. For over 25 years, people have counted on one name for all their residential and commercial moving needs: a friendly and affordable mover. No job is too big or too small, and they will assist you with your best interest in mind. Always providing free estimates, a friendly and affordable mover is a company you can count on. Have peace of mind on your next move with a friendly and affordable mover. Call 689-0935 or log on to lovemymover.com.
Bay Propeller is the region's best prop shop. With 25 years under his belt, Max Allen and a team of highly skilled techs provide fast, quality service on all types of boat propellers. From 8 to 80 inches, Bay Propeller utilizes MRI propeller scan technology and dynamic spin balance. Distributor for many brands, Bay Propeller ensures you get the right propeller for your needs at discounted prices, with emphasis on made-in-the-USA propellers. Bay Propeller, next to Portsmouth Trailer Supply in Chesapeake. Call 485-5681. BayPropeller.com.
Chesapeake, Virginia, 1650 AM WHKT presents Sports Scene. Sports Scene features local, regional, and nationally acclaimed guests and excellent interviews. Follow Sports Scene on Twitter at Greg Bick and at GJBTV.com. Now here is Greg Bickaveris.
Thank you very much, Ken Johnson. And Ken, we finally got a little sun before another snow blizzard. To me, it wasn't as bad as last January, but it still seems like we're just having enough already.
Yeah, I'm tired of it. There's a meme that I can't talk about on the radio, but I'll show it to you during the break, and you'll see what I mean. It wraps it up perfectly.
We'll save it for what teased me off as well. This is Sports Scene presented by HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com, the only mall you can browse, shop, and visit without getting out of your car 24/7. This is Sports Scene, an interview show every Wednesday from 12 to 1, live on the radio. News Talk 1650, your 10,000-watt voice of CBS News in Hampton Roads. Also, TuneIn.com. Type in WHKT. Don't forget to watch sports highlights on NNPSTV.com. GregBick.com, where our featured guest today, Bob Molinaro, is on this month. Also, tell your friends about 1650 on Facebook. Find me on Twitter, at Greg Bick, at Sports Highlight, at GJBTV, and HROnlineMall.com. Thank you to our military 24/7 for what you do. Of course, our featured guest today is Bob Molinaro, formerly of the Virginian-Pilot, still does his column every Friday. Sponsors on GJBTV.com, as well as HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com. Thank you to Bay Propeller, Finks, and LoveMyMover.com as well. Don't forget to save the date for the Newport News Greek Festival coming up May 28th to May 31st. By then, people will be tired of the snow and looking forward to do something outdoors. All right. Also, don't forget Buffalo Wild Wings coming up, as well as Aunt Annie's and Blue Cafe mentions. We've got, of course, What Teased Me Off a little bit later, and of course highlights after the 12:30 CBS News break. Stay tuned. We'll be back after these messages.
Bay Propeller is the region's best prop shop. With 25 years under his belt, Max Allen and a team of highly skilled techs provide fast, quality service on all types of boat propellers. From 8 to 80 inches, Bay Propeller utilizes MRI propeller scan technology and dynamic spin balance. Distributor for many brands, Bay Propeller ensures you get the right propeller for your needs at discounted prices, with emphasis on made-in-the-USA propellers. Bay Propeller, next to Portsmouth Trailer Supply in Chesapeake. Call 485-5681. BayPropeller.com.
When it comes to automobile service in Hampton Roads, Fink's Car Care is the destination locals have counted on for decades. Family owned and operated, they specialize in transmission service, oil changes, state inspection, radiator service, tires alignments, and showcase Win automotive products. Fink's does it all. Military and senior discounts are available. Find them on Facebook and visit them on South Military Highway in Chesapeake and Victory Boulevard in Portsmouth, Monday through Saturday. For more, log on to finkscarcare.com and call 545-3573 today. Now back to Greg Bicaveras and Sports Scene in the Hampton Roads Online Mall.com studio.
All right, thank you very much, Ken Johnson. Greg Bicaveras, glad you're with us on Sports Scene, the only local remaining show from the old game. Still in the airwaves every Wednesday, 12 to 1 on the radio, 1650. Lock it in, tell your friends. Find me on Twitter at Greg Bick. Don't forget, tunein.com. Type in these very simple letters, WHKT, to listen on your phone or your computer. Got my good buddy Bob Molinaro in here, longtime Virginian-Pilot, Ledger Star columnist for years, for decades. Of course, he's on Sports Highlights this month as well. Had him on the game several times in this show as well. Bob, good to see you, my friend.
Hi, Greg. Nice to be here.
You survived that snow again?
Yeah, that was an easy one.
Yeah, how about the one tonight, though?
Right.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk about some of the local sports going on in the area. Let's elaborate a little bit, too. You and I were both at the Old Dominion game this past Saturday, of course. Nice win, of course, by the Monarchs. They're winning games. Great charisma there by Coach Jones and his team as far as getting the fans into the game. But if you are, let's say, a non-fan of Old Dominion and you were just at that game on Saturday, it felt like you were at a mall, just a loud mall with a lot of people there, because there's no venom toward Louisiana Tech like there was VCU or, let's say, James Madison or William & Mary. There just wasn't no intensity there at all in that building.
Yeah, I mean, that was your impression, and I understand where that comes from. It was a nice venue. It was nice for people to get out of their houses after being snowed in a while, and so they had a very good crowd. And Old Dominion came out hot and hitting three-point shots. Everything was going great. They jumped out to a 20-4 lead, and it was a fun game. But yeah, there's something missing. There's something missing from Conference USA basketball.
I mean, to me, it's hard to get fired up about Marshall and Western Kentucky in basketball. I'm sorry, it is. And I think for the average fan, they have no idea. They couldn't name one player to save their life on anybody in this whole Conference USA. Probably.
There's no tradition there. There's no sense for history of how Old Dominion used to do against these teams and how they do them now and how they're doing against them now. So it's bizarre. Now Old Dominion hits the road, goes to Houston, and then North Texas, wherever University of North Texas is.
Mm-hmm. Well, they've actually got...
I'm not sure where that is, but and you just lose, you lose all sense of place. Like, why? That's their second trip to Texas this season, and it's it just seems unnecessary. But that's the way the conference works, or doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. This is Sports Scene right here, live on the radio. Greg Bicaveras, glad you're with us with Ken Johnson and Bob Molinaro. You said your second trip to Texas. You're right. They played this month. They played Texas, San Antonio, UTEP on February 12th and 14th.
And they lost both games. And Conference USA seems to be a home court league.
Mm-hmm.
You go on the road, you lose.
Right. So which brings me to say the Conference USA Championship. I'm sure a lot of Hampton Roads fans are dying to go to Birmingham, Alabama, in March, for a totally neutral place. And I can imagine somebody in Birmingham saying, other than UAB fans, how excited they are about the tournament. Sure, it's a lot of fun. We see how good the MEAC does here with Norfolk State and HU, but both those teams are just trying to get to the final game. Maybe this year will be the year, but how will Old Dominion do it in a neutral place? You'd think this would be the year.
Yeah, I mean, I would give Old Dominion as good a shot as anybody there. Now, there was a story this morning in the Pilot about UAB is not selling tickets to the tournament from their own fan base because everybody's ticked off because they ended football. They killed football, so now people are taking it out on the basketball team and the tournament. So maybe when Old Dominion plays in Birmingham, there'll be a empty, half-empty arena, and the crowd won't matter at all.
Right. Let's talk about basketball in general, too, here. I mean, football is such a big monster in this country. The NFL Network, the NFL, college football, the bowl season goes all the way till January. Of course, they had finally got it right this year, and Ohio State, won the national championship as well. But it seems like basketball is only relevant around this time of the year and March Madness because they start their season in November and they're drowned by football.
Yeah, they're totally eclipsed by football. I grew up until the last 5 or 6 years being basketball being my favorite sport, but I've gone over to the dark side now, and football is just too good to watch compared to especially college basketball.
Mm-hmm.
College football has everything now that college basketball doesn't have. It has star players who come back and play until they're juniors and seniors, so you have name recognition. It has wide open offenses. Football, the teams now that don't try to score through the air are rare, and maybe they're both in Virginia. The ACC schools, UVA and Virginia Tech, are a little behind the curve.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the country is opening it up, and you score. Everybody wants to score 40 points. Basketball, it seems like everybody wants to score 40 points, and I can only imagine what people last night at the Dean Dome in Carolina. They not only did they lose to their rival NC State, who they never lose to in Chapel Hill until last night, but Carolina scored 46 points.
Mm-hmm.
You said ODU was Ted was a mall. I mean, the Dean Dome must have been a mausoleum.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 46 points.
Right.
They did not build a 23,000-seat arena and name it after Dean Smith because they thought their teams would be going to score 46 points.
I'm sure Dean Smith was probably rolling over in his grave watching
spinning.
It. Yeah,
yes.
because he had games like that back in the Four Corner days when Phil Ford and Mike O'Corn, but that was before the shot clock.
Right, and before they got 6 NBA first-round draft picks in every year, which they don't have this year. But come on, 58 to 46.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of those low-scoring games, of course, and Virginia is the best at it at the moment at beating teams, 53 to 49.
Yeah, and like we said earlier, it's almost about what you do in the conference tournament and the NCAA tournament or NIT. Which
nobody's going to remember any of this. Look, NFL free agency starts March 10th.
Right.
That's going to, for about 3 days, that will eclipse everything college basketball is trying to do.
And really, the Combine did kind of this past weekend. It makes you forget about basketball.
And watching guys run sprints in their underwear and at the Combine attracted more interest. Now, they say TV ratings were up 90%. I guess that's the NFL Network.
Sure.
But I'm sure ESPN wishes they had it.
Yeah,
at the combine.
Yeah, talking to Bob Molinaro right here. This is Greg Bicaveras with Sports Scene. Up until 1 o'clock, you're home for CBS News. Greg Beckwith, who played for Richmond, and Dick Tarrant, who does color commentary for Richmond, will join us a little bit later during this hour as well. Don't forget What Teased Me Off. And I also want to thank Aunt Annie's as well at Greenbrier and Lynnhaven Mall. For more, go to AuntAnnie's.com, as well as Buffalo Wild Wings in Hampton. Great place to watch the games at 4201 Kilgore Avenue in Hampton. Give them a call at 826-4809.
Well, you can tell what teased me off, right, then, about college basketball.
Sure.
Overcoaching is killing the sport.
Right.
And the fact that the best players will leave after 1 year or two at the most gives the coaches even more leeway to just, to overcoach.
Right.
So.
Well, let's talk about this area for a second too. Hampton Roads. It's like when you first got here. There's a little bit of hockey. The Tides were still around. They were playing at Met Park back then. But you look back. You fast forward to 2015. The Admirals are taking a step down. Their attendance is not what it used to be. I think the best thing in here is Old Dominion football and basketball as far as attendance. The Tides novelty is definitely worn off. Still fun to go to a game. 1 or 2 a year, but if you're not going in April or May, it's just so hot in June, July, and August. You really can't enjoy it unless you're in a suite or in the restaurant.
I don't know why people do or don't go to Tides games, but attendance has little by little declined in the last few years. It's still a great place to go. Harbor Park is a jewel of a place, but. Some of the excitement has dissipated over the years. And hockey, this area, you talk about sports, making progress with pro sports. We've just stepped back in time 15 years.
Right.
But by the Admirals leaving the American Hockey League and going back to the East Coast Hockey League. It's as if, we got in a time machine and went back to 1988. So
right.
No progress.
Right. I mean, you talk about trying to get pro teams here, and you saw what a joke disaster the Destroyers were. I'm just embarrassed the state of Virginia, along with the governor.
Well, that wasn't the Destroyer. I mean,
it was.
It was. It was the league. The whole league was. It was fun for about 10 minutes. Marty Schottenheimer was great. He was so overqualified for the job. It was fun, but for about 10 minutes.
We used to interview Doug Williams when I worked at the game, and we had Schottenheimer and some of those guys, Glanville, on the show. They really were good, but it just seemed like, again, they're playing during a time that, people weren't really into, let's say, the team, and it just became very, very difficult. They started off maybe a few games. It had a little bit of a buzz early, but then, like anything else, the buzz, and they couldn't pay the players around the league, and that's what hurt the credibility as well.
Yeah, no, but this area is a football hotbed, and Old Dominion proved that and has benefited from that with their program, drawing 20,000 every game, and
sure,
and it's that has been the one change in this area when it comes to sports. The Old Dominion starting football, it's added another element to this area, and it's been great. There's no complaints with ODU football.
Right, talking to Bob Molinaro. This is Greg Bicaveras live on the radio. Also, tunein.com, type in WHKT. Go ahead and plug your Twitter handle. I know you don't like to tweet every day, but I
haven't tweeted much lately.
But you are on Twitter, though.
Yeah, Twitter at Bob Molinaro.
There you go. There you go. But let's talk about, you mentioned Old Dominion football, of course. They went right around 500, which is pretty good for what they did. But it seems like you hear a lot by Wilder. He seems like he could run for governor tomorrow if he wanted to. But then when he loses, he's hard to get a hold of. And he really, in my opinion, I've never seen this in my entire life of covering stuff, even at the network TV level, of somebody telling an opposing coach, I'm still going back to 2013, on the road, on an ACC game, on a regionally televised broadcast, look, we just don't have it in us. We're just going to quit early.
Gonna go back
I'm going to go back there for a second because it's not everything is rosy all the time. When I see you, I'm still baffled by that, because if he would have done that on ESPN, it would have been this was at
Chapel Hill.
Right. That was a regionally televised broadcast. Yeah. Could you imagine Woody Hayes doing that to Bo? You know what, Bo? We just don't have it today. Or Bobby Bowden or whoever,
It was quite a...
Were you there?
Yes, I was there. It was quite a unique experience, a unique occurrence. They shouldn't have been playing North Carolina.
Right.
But they took the money, so you can't, it's their doing. They wanted the money, and they that they got for playing at Chapel Hill, and the game just got completely out of hand. And Wilder was afraid his players would actually get injured because they were getting so tired and worn down. But no, it was something that made Bobby the butt of jokes for a week or so.
Sure.
I think he survived it now.
He did.
People forget, but it was an awkward and embarrassing situation.
Because I'd never heard of it before, and nobody really has. You see these blowouts all the time in sports, and Florida State's done a lot of them. Ohio State has as well, and they played Northwestern.
I think North Carolina could have put 100 on them that day because they ran back a couple kicks. So it's not exactly like they're running up the score because they ran back a couple punts for touchdowns, which I guess they could run out of bounds or call a fair catch, but it wasn't like they were throwing passes. But they were running it up a little bit, and I think they could have. If the game had gone on with a turnover here and then, they would have had 100, and how embarrassing would that have been? So I don't. They just shouldn't have been playing North Carolina that day.
Right, but I mean they've proven since then they can hang, and they've done pretty well against some of the ACC teams.
It's going to be interesting to see what they do without Taylor Heineke, because Taylor Heineke, even as much as Wilder, I'll put him 1 and 1A. If there's no Taylor Heineke and he's not putting up big numbers with his passing, I'm not even sure they want to go up to Division I.
Right.
Because they were excited with his performances, and they were even though they weren't playing good teams, they were winning with exciting football, and it was very entertaining football. Mm-hmm. Now they're going to have to retrench. They've got a freshman, and they think could be the next Taylor Heineke, a redshirt freshman, but he won't be this year. Mm-hmm. So they'll have to dial back the offense. I think they'll run the ball more. They'll be more conservative. And we'll see what the fans think about that, pending what kind of results, of course.
Mm-hmm. This is Sports Scene live on the radio, 1650 a.m., along with Ken Johnson and Bob Molinaro. Greg Pickaveris, glad you're with us. Save the date every Wednesday from 12 to 1. Find me on at 12 o'clock every Wednesday. Also at Greg Bick on Twitter. Add me on Facebook at Greg Pickaveris as well. Talking to Bob Molinaro, and we're talking about the different things, and we're all glad. But I've come to realize, too, I went to George Mason. I grew up here in this area. I'm in, Newport News, Virginia Beach, that I've come to realize that most of these college team people that work for colleges, whether it's the president's office or a broadcaster, they're really just fundraiser puppets. They're just trying to raise money for the school and paint a picture for the president's office like everything is rosy and rosy and rosy all the time. Where, again, going back to last Saturday when they're playing Louisiana Tech, yes, Conference USA is great for football. It's not great for basketball because not one fan in Hampton Roads can name any player in Conference USA. Not one. Or they knew VCU.
Or coach.
Yeah, or they knew VCU. They knew guys like Reddick, or they knew guys from
William and Mary.
Yeah, exactly. But they just can't do that in Conference USA. And again, I felt like I was in a mall and I couldn't wait to get home and get dinner. And I wasn't working the game on TV either. I was just relaxing.
Yeah, well, that's the hand they've dealt themselves. They wanted to leave the CAA, and it got. I wish they hadn't left the CAA. But if you turn back the clock and look at what was going on at that time, things were getting out of control. VCU left the CAA. That hurt basketball. It was falling apart. So in Old Dominion's defense, they had to do something, and they went to Conference USA. I wasn't thrilled with it when it happened, and as you point out, even now it's not the greatest thing in the world. But they were. Remember, it was 3 years ago. There was just craziness in conferences.
Sure.
Even the big conferences,
super conferences.
Mm-hmm. People were just jumping and going crazy, and it was just a bad time.
Right.
Old Dominion's hope is that one day there'll be some kind of another musical chairs, and they'll become associated with a conference, whatever they call it, that would be sort of like the current Big East, but with good football. Mm-hmm. East Coast schools, Northeast schools, Temple, whatever it ends up being.
Villanova, maybe.
Villanova, which doesn't play big-time football.
No.
But they need that happy mix because they can't just go for basketball. They have to go for football and basketball. So, But that's their hope one day, that they won't be in the CUSA forever.
Right. Well, it's good for football, and it was great. They had a great game when Fox Sports 1 back in the fall. It was really a lot of fun. Their press box definitely, I'm surprised they have not made that a little bit more pleasant for the people that have to cover the football games, because it really is an old place.
It's cramped, but they still keep a seat for me, so I'm not going to say anything.
No, exactly. And they've expanded the TV booth as well, which is nice. Talking to Bob Molinaro, let's touch on, before we talk with Greg Beckwith, and you and I will talk more in the second half hour. Redskins, another losing record. Doesn't matter whether it's Gruden coaching or Norv Turner, whoever. It just seems Shanahan, whatever. It just seems like they can't get over that hump consistently like they did when Joe Gibbs was coaching.
I wonder why. You think it has anything to do with the owner? It is always the same. The coaches change, the quarterbacks change, the owner stays the same. There's your answer right there. They're a mess.
Right. You know? And this is going to be a big year. They have a chance to opt with RG3's contract, extend it. We'll find out early in May, and see what happens.
Yeah, well, I guess they've answered that, right, by Gruden coming out last week and saying that Griffin is his starter going into camp.
Yeah,
they have to sign him, right?
Well,
extend him.
The question is what are they going to do about 16? This is going to be a very telling year. The TV schedule will come out in April. The draft, of course, is in a few months as well. So we'll look forward to seeing all that with the Redskins. Again, this is Sports Scene as well. Don't forget our good friends at Blue Cafe Bar and Sushi at 13175 Jefferson Avenue, Newport News. Go by and see Chris. Give him a call at 898-6888 as well. They got delicious lunch, kitchen specials, sushi if you like that, specials as well. Find them on Facebook. Do you like sushi, Bob, yourself?
You like that? No, I don't like sushi.
You don't?
I've had a little bit of it, but no.
I love me some California rolls, though. They're really good. All right, of course, Ken Johnson taking away with CBS News. I guess, Ken, this is the last good window of really just sunny, pleasant weather. If you looked out the window, it's really pretty nice outside in Hampton Roads.
Yeah, the weather guessers are calling for the fecal matter to hit the rotary device again tonight and tomorrow, so we'll see if they're right. They didn't have yesterday's right. They called for a dusting.
And if you want to hear the weather, listen to Ken Johnson. These weather people in the morning have agendas.
The only two careers you can have where you are constantly and consistently wrong and still keep the gig are weather forecasters and broadcasting consultants. Other than that, you're going to get canned, but those guys get away with it. Well, here's what the weather guessers are saying for now. Winter storm warning going into effect 7 p.m. tonight through 1 p.m. tomorrow. Partly cloudy skies for the rest of the day, a high of 42 degrees. And then tonight, the snow's supposed to start, possibly heavy at times. 5 to 8 inch accumulation is what they're calling for, and a low of 32 degrees. Morning snow ending, becoming cloudy tomorrow with a high of 33 degrees. Let's hold them to it, see if it's right or wrong. CBS News is up next on AM 1650. The answer, it's 12:31.
Maine this morning. Steve McCausland with the state police.
Upwards of 40 vehicles involved, 14 injuries. Fortunately, no fatalities, but a couple of those injuries are serious.
I'm Jim Crisula. There have now been at least 30 winter weather-related deaths in Tennessee in the last week, 12 more in neighboring Kentucky. 30,000 customers are still without power in Tennessee after last weekend's ice storm.
There's a storm rolling through the southeast right now, making travel treacherous in a number of places. WCBS meteorologist Craig Allen is tracking it.
The National Weather Service has already issued winter weather advisories and a winter storm warning in a strip that goes from approximately Dallas right through northern Alabama, northern Georgia, into North Carolina, and even the lower sections of Virginia.
CBS News Update. I'm Steve Kathan.
Hi, this is Greg Picaveras. Join me for Sports Scene each Wednesday from noon to 1 right here on News Talk 1650 WHKT. You can also hear the show on TuneIn as well. We will talk to local, regional, and nationally acclaimed sports guests, and we'll interact with our audience as well at Greg Pick on Twitter. Sports Scene, Wednesdays from noon to 1 right here on 1650 AM.
When it comes to automobile service in Hampton Roads, Fink's Car Care is the destination locals have counted on for decades. Family owned and operated, they specialize in transmission service, oil changes, state inspection, radiator service, tires, alignments, and showcase Win Automotive products. Fink's does it all. Military and senior discounts are available. Find them on Facebook and visit them on South Military Highway in Chesapeake and Victory Boulevard in Portsmouth, Monday through Saturday. For more, log on to finkscarcare.com and call 545-3573 today.
Bay Propeller is the region's best prop shop. With 25 years under his belt, Max Allen and a team of highly skilled techs provide fast, quality service on all types of boat propellers. From 8 to 80 inches, Bay Propeller utilizes MRI propeller scan technology and dynamic spin balance. Distributor for many brands, Bay Propeller ensures you get the right propeller for your needs at discounted prices, with emphasis on made in the USA propellers. Bay Propeller, next to Portsmouth Trailer Supply in Chesapeake. Call 485-5681. BayPropeller.com.
For over 25 years, people have counted on one name for all their residential and commercial moving needs: a friendly and affordable mover. No job is too big or too small, and they will assist you with your best interest in mind. Always providing free estimates, a friendly and affordable mover is a company you can count on. Have peace of mind on your next move with a friendly and affordable mover. Call 689-0935 or log on to lovemymover.com. Now back to Greg Bicaveras and Sports Scene in the Hampton Roads Online Mall.com studio. It's now time for Greg's Highlights, presented by Hampton Roads Online Mall.com Marketplace Pages.
And Greg Beckwith will join us in just a couple of minutes. Don't forget gjbtv.com for archive shows. Click the YouTube link. Of course, find me on Twitter at Greg Bick, at Sports Highlight, at GJBTV, and HROnlineMall.com. Shop in the marketplace sponsors of Hampton Roads OnlineMall.com. Save the day for this show every Wednesday, 12 to 1. Tell your friends. And don't forget, of course, what teased me off, Sports Highlights on NNPSTV.com as well. Great guests. Also want to thank MiCasitaMexican.com, Buffalo Wild Wings, and Blue Cafe. Let's welcome former Richmond basketball player, played for Dick Tarrant. Also does color commentary with the basketball team for several years, as well for the University of Richmond. Let's welcome, same initials that I've got, Greg Beckwith. GB, what's up, my friend?
How you doing, Greg?
Very good. Very good. How are you doing?
Hanging in there, getting ready for this big game this evening.
And, of course, you know, the weather is always an issue. How's it been in the Richmond area? We had a little dusting yesterday, but we're expecting more snow in the Hampton Roads area. What are you calling for in Richmond tonight?
It is going to be okay. I think we're going to be okay. It's sunny and mild right now, I should say, but I think later on this evening it may get some dusting or some snow. But right now, everyone's excited about this big game tonight.
Yeah, Bob Molinaro is also here with us. And, Greg, just give us a real quick synopsis. You played for Coach Tarrant. You played with the great Johnny Newman. Talk about some of your Richmond days.
Well, we had the opportunity of playing a couple NCAA tournaments. I played at 1982 through 86. As you mentioned, Johnny Newman was the featured player for us, and we got to the NCAA in '84. Had an opportunity to play against Auburn and beat Auburn in the '84 NCAA tournament, which is a shock and still one of the big shocks. Still to this day, they show that classic game in 1984 with Auburn, with Charles Barkley and Chuck Person. But we made it to the NCAA a couple years. My senior year, we went to the NCAA at at-large bid, first time ever for the school, first time ever in '84 to get to the NCAA, and then we played in an NIT. So we wanted to lay a foundation for the program when we got in, and we were able to do that under Coach Tarrant.
I believe the VCU coach was, at that time, the Auburn coach when y'all beat them, correct?
Yes, it was. Coach Smith was there. Sonny Smith was the Auburn coach, and ironically enough, he came back to coach at VCU later in his coaching career.
Right.
Greg, were you on the team that beat Indiana?
Were you on the team that beat Indiana, he said?
I actually was an assistant on Coach Tarrant's staff. That was the 87-88 team that beat the defending champs, Indiana in '88 tournament in Hartford, Connecticut. A guy named Kenny Atkinson, who's currently an assistant coach at the Atlanta Hawks, was the point guard and one of the star players on that team.
I think Peter Woolfolk played for that team, too.
Absolutely. Pete was one of the stars as well.
Yeah, it's funny how I met Greg. I went to George Mason. I was a freshman when he was a senior, but back then, Greg, you remember, even the college radio, we always talked to the opposing players. We all became friends, and the CAA back then was a totally different league where the media, the fans, the students from either other schools, we all became friends, and you and I have seen each other at least 2 or 3 times a year since then at various Richmond games, you know that, and it's just that the bond is still there from all those years.
Yeah, there's a lot of history of the CAA teams, and a lot of them have moved over to the Atlantic 10, which is interesting. And we still keep those rivalries intact, but off the floor and away from the game, we still, managed to be friends and really respect one another's programs, which is very important.
You're going to play VCU's Havoc, what do they call it? Do you play anybody all year that plays that way, other than VCU?
Not really. You don't see that across the country too much. Louisville plays full court pressure, but Coach Smart instilled this top full court pressure defense. He's got a lot of athletic players that can do that, interchangeable parts. So he's been very successful, and there is a method to their madness. They really want to create a lot of turnovers and get steals and up and run. Get some easy buckets in transition from that pressure.
I wish more teams would play that way. What do you think?
It'd be fun to watch, but as a player, as an opposing team, I don't know if you want to do that night in and night out. But no, it's a good concept. But you have to have the right personnel to do it, because nowadays there's so many good players that can handle the ball, on opposing teams. So there's a lot of athleticism in the college basketball nowadays.
We're talking to Greg Beckwith. This is Greg Beckwith along with Bob Molinaro, our special guest on Sports Scene up until 1 o'clock. You're home for CBS News. Don't forget tunein.com. Type in WHKT to listen on your phone or your computer. And, Greg, you already beat VC way back on January 31st. Of course, you beat them there at the Siegel Center. But for a long time when Coach Tarrant was coaching and you were playing, and Johnny Newman and Pete Woolfolk, nobody really paid much attention to VCU. Of course, Calvin Duncan was a great player in the mid-'80s when J.D. Barnett was there, but it was always Richmond, and the tide shifted pretty much since Shaka got there with VCU. They made the the Final Four that one year, but it seems like Richmond this year is kind of like borderline NIT. They've gotten some good wins, but what are your thoughts about postseasons? It's right around the corner.
Well, they have a good opportunity to try to get to the postseason. I think their mindset is going to be on, of course, this game tonight against VCU. But when you look at their whole body of work, they've lost some close games throughout the year. I mean, they're 15-12 overall, 8-6 in the Atlantic 10, and they've had some heartbreaking losses on the road. Double overtime loss at George Washington, where they had an opportunity to win that game. They lost a really close one at LaSalle, which was, they thought they had a good opportunity to win. They lost that one. And then 2 games at home, they had a really tough loss at the buzzer. They lost to Wake Forest at home at a buzzer beater, and the same type of loss they had with Northeastern after winning and dominating that game. They ended up losing at the end. So a couple of games they wish they had back, but you know how that happens during the course of the season, that those type of losses, and you can have some on the good side, and on the bad side you have some. So you have to take it with a grain of salt and just get ready. What I like about Richmond this year, Greg, is their team is very, very mentally tough and resilient. They've bounced back from some of those very, very tough losses, and the mental toughness they've showed really showed from their leadership when Kendall Anthony, a little 5'8" point guard, who's their only senior on the team.
Including back several months ago when you played NC State. Coach Mooney's always played tough teams.
Yeah, they really go out and seek, especially non-conference. You want to play the toughest teams you can and get ready for a A10 conference play, because the A10 is very, very tough. It's a tough conference to play, and night in and night out you're playing. Any given team can beat one another, and you're seeing that. George Mason beat Richmond at George Mason last week, which is a tough loss, but the Spiders came back and won a big game at St. Bonaventure, who was on a little roll at that point in time. So things happen. You see Richmond went into VCU, as you mentioned, in January, end of January. The Rams were on a 12-game winning streak at that point. The Spiders broke their the 12-game winning streak. So it can happen at any time in this conference, and this conference is well known across the country as being a really, really tough conference.
Well, who's favored tonight then? You already beat them there at their place.
It's a toss-up. I never pick games. It's always a toss-up with rivalries. You never know who's going to play well. It depends on who can instill their philosophy tonight. Of course, Richmond wants to control the tempo and slow it up, and keep their turnovers down. They're one of the better teams in the conference of lowest turnovers. They only average less than 10 turnovers a game. And of course, VCU wants to get after you and, as you mentioned earlier, get steals and go. So they're one of the best in the country at getting steals and turning you over. So their opponents average almost 17 turnovers a game. So it'll be interesting to see which philosophy, which style comes out on top. It'll be a loud and raucous crowd at the Robins Center this
And the
evening.
game is on ESPN2?
Yes, it will be on ESPN2, so national audience again.
That's cool.
We'll get to see the Spiders and the Rams go at it.
And really, just after that, just one more home game against St. Louis on March 7th. And, of course, the A10 is based right here, Greg, in Newport News. And so it's what is that, how is the league benefited? It seems like my school, George Mason, it's not benefited well going to the A10. It just has not worked out for Mason. What are your thoughts about Mason?
Well, Mason will be okay. I think, again, it's a different league altogether. I think, when you go from, not to knock the CAA because it's a very competitive league.
Sure.
We've all played in the CAA and have a lot of respect. William Mary's doing well, by the way, and the CAA. And then you have James Madison's doing well. So, and the Spiders lost to James Madison, only won by 1 this year, against William Mary. But I think it's a transition period for George Mason. They've changed coaches. Paul Hewitt came on. They're trying to find their identity more so than anything, and you can't feel sorry for yourself in this league. And I think that's the key. You have to keep bouncing back and continue to play hard. And I think they're in a situation that they're going to be fine. I don't think they'll be down long. Their program's too good of a program to be down too long.
I know you're pushed for time. Go ahead and talk about what's going on with Adidas.
Well, Adidas. Well, unfortunately, we endorse a guy by the name of Derrick Rose. So, not feeling good about what happened with him. Yesterday, the Newswire came out that he had a torn meniscus. So that was a blow. But we endorsed the basketball NBA. They wear all of our product on court. A lot of people don't know that. And the WNBA, they wear our product. All the players wear our product. Both leagues. And then we endorsed John Wall, who's one of our bigger endorsers, like Derrick Rose, Damian Lillard, and Wiggins. Is a big endorser for us. So in the basketball world, that's pretty strong guys that we have. We call them the House of Guards.
Yeah, I remember back when you were playing, Sam Bowie was a really heralded player like Derrick Rose, and he was there when Ralph was there, when at Kentucky, Virginia during that time when Turpin was there and those guys, and Kenny Walker, my all-time favorite college basketball player. That, it just seems like Rose cannot catch a break, Greg. I mean, all this training, all this technology we got, and it seems like Rose, the poor kid, just cannot catch a break, and it seems like his confidence has been shaken, and you can see it on the court too.
Yeah, he's a great guy,
sure
by the way,
is.
And he's wanted so badly to help Chicago, get to that NBA championship. So you feel bad for a young man like him. But those are part of it. That's going to happen. It just depends on how you bounce back. Because look at the NBA. Russell Westbrook had a couple of injuries, and he's come back and he's been playing great basketball. So it's unfortunate. Hopefully he can get through it. But it's just been so tough for him in the city of Chicago to have him be injured as much as he's had. They considered or compared him to Gale Sayers. Remember Gale Sayers in Chicago?
Yeah.
Who had a very short stint with the Bears, and then also Sandy Koufax in baseball, who was great pitcher, but his injuries limit his career with the Dodgers.
Well, Greg, all the best tonight against VCU tonight, the 25th, 7 o'clock, nationally televised. You'll be on the radio as well on ESPN 950 up in Richmond as well. Always a lot of pleasure, my friend, and we will definitely see you down the road.
All right. Appreciate you guys. Take care.
Enjoy the day, Greg.
All right. Take care.
Thank you. All right. Greg Beckwith right there, a real gentleman, and, of course, he played for Richmond and Coach Tarrant there for the Spiders back in the 80s with some really good teams. Bob Molinaro mentioned Indiana, of course, and Bob Knight had an interesting situation happen to him. I don't know if you heard this or not about Bob. He was doing a broadcast recently, and he was actually, the fans were walking. The fans sit next to the teams, and they've taken over the press row now at all these colleges, and some fans started walking in front of Bobby Knight, and while he was on the air, he said, "Hey son, move out of the way," just totally losing the fact that he was on national TV with Mike Patrick, who is from Virginia, by the way, and he just started shouting on his headset, and it's now all over the internet. The poor guy, yeah.
Well, at least he didn't throw a chair at him.
What did you think about all these fans right there on press row? I mean, can you imagine John Thompson or Vince Lombardi dealing with that?
Yeah, well, you see it at the NBA too. I didn't realize as much at college. You see the bench and the coach, and suddenly he's standing right in front of fans.
Right.
It's like right next to the chair where the coach is 4 or 5 seats with fans in it. That's the way of the world. That's the way you got to high rollers get what they want.
I've heard somebody, I'm not going to name the source, that sometimes these fans on the press row can pay for a lot of travel costs for a lot of the athletic teams. All right, folks, we'll take a short break. This is Sports Scene. Hope you enjoyed Greg Beckwith there. We got our featured guest in the studio today, our very special guest, Bob Molinaro. We'll be back after these messages.
Bay Propeller is the region's best prop shop. With 25 years under his belt, Max Allen and a team of highly skilled techs provide fast, quality service on all types of boat propellers. From 8 to 80 inches, Bay Propeller utilizes MRI propeller scan technology and dynamic spin balance. Distributor for many brands, Bay Propeller ensures you get the right propeller for your needs at discounted prices, with emphasis on made-in-the-USA propellers. Bay Propeller, next to Portsmouth Trailer Supply in Chesapeake. Call 485-5681. BayPropeller.com.
For over 25 years, people have counted on one name for all their residential and commercial moving needs: a friendly and affordable mover. No job is too big or too small, and they will assist you with your best interest in mind. Always providing free estimates, a friendly and affordable mover is a company you can count on. Have peace of mind on your next move with a friendly and affordable mover. Call 689-0935 or log on to lovemymover.com. When it comes to automobile service in Hampton Roads, Fink's Car Care is the destination locals have counted on for decades. Family owned and operated, they specialize in transmission service, oil changes, state inspection, radiator service, tires alignments, and showcase Win Automotive products. Fink's does it all. Military and senior discounts are available. Find them on Facebook and visit them on South Military Highway in Chesapeake and Victory Boulevard in Portsmouth, Monday through Saturday. For more, log on to finkscarcare.com and call 545-3573 today. Now back to Greg Bicaveras and Sports Scene in the Hampton Roads Online Mall.com studio.
All right, back live right here on Sports Scene. Greg Bicaveras, glad you're with us live right here on the radio up until 1 o'clock. Hope you enjoyed Greg Beckwith, who does color commentary for the Richmond Spiders, of course, in the A-10. And that conference, Bob, it just seems like there's more closeness because you got Richmond, you got VCU, you got George Mason, you got GW right there. There's four schools.
Yeah, I wish ODU was in that conference. But again, it would be good for basketball, but not for football.
But
and let's face it, even at ODU, football is the tail that wags the dog.
But I think if East Carolina was in the Conference USA, it would have been perfect. It was at least would have been a rivalry there.
Well, they were in it for 5 minutes. I
yeah.
mean, ODU overlapped for like 5 minutes with them, but.
And at one time, ODU was in East Carolina were rivals in the CAA as well back in the 80s when Blue Edwards played.
Again, though, East Carolina is all football. I mean, you don't even know they have a basketball team.
Right.
Sort of like Virginia Tech.
And at one time, Terry Holland was the AD. Speaking of Virginia and Virginia Tech, before we get to what teased me off, Virginia, of course, the basketball team doing very well. But here's my opinion about Virginia's basketball team. Show me the NCAA tournament. Repeat, show me the NCAA tournament. Then I'll gain some respect. I have a lot of respect for Coach Bennett. I think he's done a great job, but it's going to come down to what they do in March Madness.
Yeah, I agree. And it's funny. You're watching ESPN games, let's say, and they start talking over the game about the top ranked teams in Virginia. They don't even mention Virginia, and they're number 2 ranked. It's because they have no identity. Nobody knows what to make of them.
No star marquee name.
And I'll give them credit. They've done a lot with what they've have. Obviously, they're 24-1 or 25-1, but they nobody knows. And I think secretly it's because nobody really likes to watch them play. Now I hear from some Virginia fans who tell me to shut up when I say that, but. Nobody really enjoys that. They might respect the way they play, but nobody enjoys watching their games. If you're not a Cavalier fan.
Yeah, Virginia Tech's basketball, they might as well be in the witness protection program.
That's
Ken Johnson laughing in the background, folks.
Rim shot, yes.
Yeah.
Good one.
Yeah.
I really couldn't. They play games. I'm assuming they are playing games this year, but it's Yeah, they're like on a sabbatical.
Right.
They're taking a sabbatical from basketball for this year.
You talked about this in my TV program on Sports Highlights. You can watch it, folks, on nnpstv.com. Kevin Martingale and Bob are the featured guests for the month of February. Hard to believe it's going to be March 1st on Sunday already. But you mentioned about Coach London. He had one winning record so far.
Yeah.
A nice guy, but the older alumni don't support him. Yes. He didn't even have a winning record this year. I mean, he still had a losing record, and it's sad that even in September and the fall, the place is half empty by the second half.
I guess so. Yeah, I mean, everybody likes Mike London, and
sure,
that includes me.
I do too.
He is not a good game coach, and that has cropped up and probably cost him a game here and there. He's a good recruiter, and you can see why. I mean, he closes the deal in the living rooms with the parents.
Yeah, but
he's a great recruiter. But I mean, what's going to happen? He doesn't have a good quarterback, and that's his problem. If he needs to recruit one, it's maybe too late now.
Like you had said, Ohio State's got 3. Virginia Tech don't have one.
None. That's right.
And they still have none for the fall coming up either.
Yeah.
Virginia's best quarterback might have been playing for Richmond this past year.
Virginia football with Virginia and Virginia Tech. I mean, I expect Tech to have a better year this year.
Sure.
But in general, it's not forward-thinking football. They're sticking with the old style football and the balanced running game, and and it's just not only it's not the future, it's not the present. You got to open up the game. You've got to score a lot of points. In the NFL, it's the same way. You can't sit on a lead, as the Packers found out against the Seahawks. You can't sit on a lead in football anymore. There's too much offense.
Right. Just like in, no matter what sport, people want to see action. People want to see the fights in hockey or the wrecks in NASCAR. And the Daytona 500 was just this past week, had a pretty decent rating on Fox. All right, Kenny, with that said, final 6 minutes left. Let's get to what teased me off.
What tees you off? Presented by GJBTV.com.
And we each go around the room for this as well. Greg Bigaveras, Bob Molinaro, Ken Johnson. This is Sports Scene live on the radio. Hope you're enjoying their show during the lunch hour. Of course, don't forget archive shows on GJBTV.com. Hit the YouTube link. Side roads and Hampton roads that have ice are always neglected. They feel like skating rinks or ice skating rinks in your neighborhood, Ken.
Yeah, and Carrie Doherty made a good point about that. You remember Carrie? I think she worked somewhere. It's familiar. Anyway, she made a good point about that in a recent column, talking about if you're going to spend all this money, like they're going to do for the light rail, why not spend it for something that people actually do ride in their cars and get some more trucks and clear the roads, which, by the way, are multi-use. You can use them for other things other than snow removal.
But isn't it a case of whose turn is it with the snowplow, Portsmouth's or Norfolk's?
That's true.
Yeah. Well, Virginia Beach would have its own. So
and Virginia Beach would have its own. But Norfolk
and
and Portsmouth share one snowplow, don't they?
Yeah, the other cities can do whatever they want.
All right, well, speaking of that.
Or rent it out.
Speaking of, like, tomorrow, all hell's going to break loose.
Sure, tonight.
But this happens. I'm sitting at home sometimes at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock watching the local news, and they're going on and on about traffic conditions and what you can and can't do in your car because of traffic conditions and weather conditions. And I'm thinking, but I'm at home already.
Right.
What do I care? I'm not coming home from work. I'm already at home. And nobody's in their car watching television, I don't think, although maybe people do that now. So what good is the TV broadcast telling you road conditions do if you're already in your car stuck in traffic?
Speaking of which, Ken, that has
at least the radio can get through to them.
You'll break their heart.
Ken, at least, one of the worst jobs in broadcasting is, when you're doing traffic on TV or on the radio. It has to be the worst job in the history of broadcasting.
Oh, I can think of worse.
Well, yeah, okay. How about this? This is what teased...
Certain mornings. I'm going to stop right there.
Okay, what teased me off, presented by Buffalo Wild Wings. Ken, meetings in general. I mean, once in a while it's nice to have a meeting, but to have meetings just to be having meetings is just minutia.
Whenever I had a production meeting, if it went more than 20 minutes, there was something seriously wrong, or we were having free pizza other than that. But I've sat in meetings that really had no agenda, no purpose, no value at all that went
I don't have meetings anymore.
Right.
In my current situation.
Good for you.
How about, Ken, restaurant chains that have revolving general managers with no continuity?
1 week it's good, next week not so much.
Exactly. All right, how about this? Sports out of season. Most people like football in the fall, basketball in the winter, baseball in the spring and the summer.
No, football's 12 months.
Oh, it is.
I'm
okay.
sorry, it's gone 12 months.
Okay.
I told you, it's it can't be stopped.
And
it seems like basketball is year-round. Remember when that was something you only heard about between November and March, maybe, and now it's like, good Lord, July 4th basketball tournament this weekend.
Well, it is. You're right, because they start in November and they play till June in the NBA. And how about this? Snow on top of snow after tonight.
Oh, dude, I'm so sick of snow. I'm starting to feel like Nanook of the North.
And all these girls were all excited about 50 Shades of Grey. It was more about a narcissist who could not smile during the entire movie and made the girl he was with very uncomfortable.
Did you see the movie?
Actually, I was with a young lady and did see it, yes.
Oh.
Not to my liking.
Not everybody will admit that.
It's a regular movie. It's no big deal. But, I mean, the acting was horrible.
Yeah, Dr. Joy Brown, I think, had a really good rap on that whole thing. She said, if you take the sex out of it, it is a stupid, boring, poorly acted, poorly written movie. Put the sex in it, okay, then maybe there's something to watch.
But it was rated R. There's rated R movies right next door. I mean, rated R is not that big of a deal. PG-13 is not that big of a deal. It was just horrible acting. I was going there to watch the movie, and really was just bad acting. But anyway, Ken, of course, that pretty much wraps up Sports Scene for this week. Bob, your closing thoughts. Give the fans your columns every Friday.
Yeah, I still write a column for Friday, the weekly briefing that appears in the Pilot, and I'm happy to do that. And otherwise, I'm just sitting back and observing and I guess waiting for the basketball tournaments like everybody else and seeing what to make. And remember, don't pay any attention to the rankings now. Connecticut last year, I don't even know if they were ranked.
Sure.
Won the national championship with, I believe it was 9 losses.
Right,
so,
right. See, college basketball is all about the coaches. NBA is all about the players, and that's exactly right. You know the players in the NBA, you know the coaches in college basketball.
Exactly.
And that's pretty much it. Ken, thank you so much, my friend. Of course, CBS News at the top of the hour. Don't forget gjbtv.com. Hit the YouTube link. Also, browse, shop, and visit on HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com. Add me on Facebook. Add me on Twitter at Greg Bick as well. So for Ken Johnson, our great guests, as well, Bob Molinaro and Greg Beckwith, I'm Greg Bickaveras. Happy Wednesday. Stay safe tonight. Don't drive if you don't have to. You hear that all the time. I'll say it too. And we'll talk to you soon.
AM 1650 WHKT Portsmouth, The Answer. We've got Dennis Prager up next. After CBS News at 3 o'clock, it's Glenn Beck at 6, Mark Levin at 9, and we've got a Glenn Beck rebroadcast coming up. It's 1 p.m.
CBS News, I'm Stephen Portnoy. The FBI director says the threat of terror exists from coast to coast. Speaking to state attorneys general in Washington today, James Comey said his agents now have active investigations into extremists in all 50 states.
ISIL in particular is putting out a siren song through their slick propaganda, through social media that goes like this. Troubled soul, come to the caliphate. And if you can't come, kill somebody where you are.
Here in New York, new evidence of the power of that siren song.
I'm Heather Bosch. 3 Brooklyn men have been arrested. 2 are accused of trying to join ISIS in Syria. In fact, one of them was picked up before boarding a plane at Kennedy Airport. The U.S. Attorney's Office in New York says they caught the attention of law enforcement last year after going online to say they support an Islamic caliphate in Iraq and Syria. The 3rd suspect is accused of raising money to help others join the terrorists.
Meanwhile, Homeland Security funding is set to run out Friday night, and at this hour, a path to avoid a partial shutdown of the agency remains unclear. The Senate Republican leader is offering a vote on a clean bill to keep the department fully funded past Friday, but only if Democrats in the Senate allow a separate vote to block the president's executive actions on immigration. Now, even if that comes to pass, the House would still need to go along. Chatting with reporters this morning, Speaker John Boehner didn't signal what might happen next.
I don't know what the Senate's capable of passing, and until I see what they're going to pass, no decision has been made on the House side.
Some 200,000 essential Homeland Security workers would stay on the job but go without pay if a deal isn't reached by Friday night. Heavy snow in Maine led to a 40-car pileup this morning on Interstate 95 between Newport and Bangor. 30 miles of I-95 had to be shut down. Nicholas Bouchard is a tow truck driver.
It was one of the most chaotic things I've ever seen, and I've been working down here for about 3 years now with my father. None of the drivers have seen anything like this.
At least 14 people were hurt, some seriously. A wintry mix is moving east from Texas now, bringing with it a 1,300-mile swath of snow. Meteorologist Craig Allen.
It is snowing right on up into the lower sections of Arkansas. This snowfall will produce anywhere from 1 to locally 4 inches of snow accumulation on the ground. Probably some sleet and freezing rain to make it very icy, too.
The jury in Stephenville, Texas, did not believe lawyers for the killer of American sniper Chris Kyle, who said that the killer, Eddie Ray Routh, was insane when he shot famed Navy SEAL Kyle and his friend Chad Littlefield. Christina Yeager was on that jury. She told ABC's Good Morning America the PTSD claims were just an excuse.
Every time something bad happened, he pulled that card.
Routh was sentenced to life in prison. His attorneys say he'll appeal. TJX, the company which owns TJ Maxx, Marshalls, and Home Goods, is boosting its workers' pay up to $9 an hour. It's up from about $8.25.75. This is CBS News.
Looking for a reliable used vehicle for your teenager? All Honda certified pre-owned vehicles undergo a thorough multi-point inspection by a Honda-trained technician to meet Honda certified standards. And the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety named 4 Honda certified eligible models as among the best used car choices for teens under $20,000. We think that's pretty reliable. Find the right vehicle for you at HondaCertified.com and search for local inventory. Start something special with Honda certified pre-owned vehicles.